So along with the endless sanctions that have come about as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the West is doing some things that are honestly too much. So let's go ahead and take a look at all these headlines here. It'll explain some of the things that, some of the actions that have been taken against the Russian government. Microsoft to remove RT apps, ban Russian state-owned media. YouTube blocks Russian news channel RT and Sputnik in Europe. Facebook owner Meta will block access to Russia's RT, Sputnik in EU. EU to ban Russian state-backed channels RT and Sputnik. So there was also, I think, the ban, although let me check this right now as I'm talking to you guys, but I'm pretty sure at the very least they banned the monetization in the US, and they may have banned the channel in the US too. So it's still available right now. I just clicked on it right now. 4.67 million subscribers for RT. The videos are still allowed in the US, but I think they said they might ban them here too, just ban it on YouTube in the US. And but they also said it might take a while to get everything worked out. So I guess it might take a while for them to pull it down and whatnot. Look, man, I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all for a number of reasons. I mean, okay, if you want to take this position and advocate for it, fine. But be honest with yourself and be honest with the world and say, I'm supporting censorship in this instance. I'm in favor of the censorship. That is what it is. There's no other way to describe it. It's censorship. Now, one of the reasons why, as a matter of principle, you should keep it up. But beyond that, I also think one of the reasons you should keep it up is we want to know what the propaganda is saying over there, what the government is thinking, how they're trying to manipulate the population. You know, I mean, I've seen a lot of top-notch, hilarious takes from RT since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And, you know, some of that stuff we've used in the show. Early on in the conflict, I used a clip to show you what their perspective is, to then explain how, look, that's not exactly right, and here's why it's not right. And if you're going to ban this, it's like, well, what about the BBC, which has supported a bunch of American wars against countries that didn't attack us? Technically, they're doing propaganda. What about corporate media here in the US? We all know this. They listen directly to the intelligence agencies and just report their stuff as if it's factual. They're just stenographers to the deep state. And there's a number of things they've gotten provably, verifiably wrong. They've built us up to go into every single war. So if you're going to be like, hey, we can't allow propaganda on behalf of a government, on behalf of an aggressive government, I got news for you. You're going to have to ban like every single outlet, not even just state media outlets, also corporate media outlets, which again, just listen to the intelligence agencies and say whatever they want them to say. And it's always hawkish. It's always aggressive. So there's no way you can do this and lay a precedent that doesn't affect other outlets the same way. You just can't do it, at least if you're upholding any sort of real standards. But the fact of the matter is, they don't want to do that. They just want to do it for this specific thing, for this specific channel or channels, RT and Sputnik. And I can't support that, man. I can't support that. That goes way too far. And we are seeing a lot of stuff now that goes way too far. You know, I support, as harsh as you can make the sanctions against the oligarchs and Putin, go to town. I support it. Seize their yachts, seize their jets, seize their offshore bank accounts. Let's go. Like, I'm down for all that. But now a lot of the sanctions are affecting the people of Russia who did nothing wrong. Like, you can't use Apple Pay or Google Pay to go into the Moscow subway. How many people were affected by that negatively who did nothing wrong? How many people were affected by that who were just at the anti-war protest, actively standing up against Putin, knowing that they're risking, their bodies? They could be locked up behind bars or worse. So it's not fair. It's not just. It's not right. When George W. Bush invaded Iraq, if there were sanctions that made it so that, like, my mom can't go to the bank and take out cash, I would have opposed that. I would have said, yeah, look, I disagree with what George W. Bush is doing. It's a war crime. It's terrible, but it wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. You know, I didn't vote for the guy or anything. I don't feel any responsibility whatsoever. So I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Now, as of right now, it's still up on YouTube here, but you saw all the places that are taking action against him. Granted, those places that we showed on the screen, like a lot of these European countries, they don't have the same sort of free speech that we have here, and constitutionally protected free speech. They have stronger libel laws and things of that nature, defamation and hate speech or whatever. But it sort of feels like we're in a moral panic moment now, because what Russia did is terrible, because it was an illegal and offensive invasion, because it was an imperialist action. I think a lot of what Russia, it's not just about NATO. I think a lot of what he's doing has to do with the natural gas that was found in Ukraine that he wants. He feels like he has a right to Ukraine and should have never left the Soviet Union. But because of those terrible actions, people have now shut their minds off, and it's like, well, anything we could throw against Russia is good. And banning RT is like, well, what the hell? Tom Hartman worked for RT in the past. Ed Schultz worked for RT in the past. Until very recently, Ring of Fire, America's Lawyer, that was on RT. Abby Martin was on RT in the past. And these are people who are actually do a pretty decent job. They do a pretty decent job. And a lot of the stuff I've seen on RT since the invasion has been really mind-numbingly stupid. But even that's a reason to keep it up. I want to see what their propaganda is. I want to see what their argument is. I want to be able to respond to it. I want to be able to laugh at it. I want to be able to, in the rare instances where, hey, man, that's a good point that I didn't think of, I want to be able to say, hey, that's a good point. You got to allow these different points of view, man. You got to allow these different points of view. I've never had a bigger split from some lefties than I have in this invasion, because I see a lot of people still holding on as hard as they can to this is all about NATO, this is all about NATO, this is all about NATO. And look, I disagree. Putin's own words were half the freaking speech was this is blood and soil. So it was very imperialist and fascy in the arguments that he made. So I've never disagreed with the left more than I have in that particular instance, but that doesn't mean I want to ban them. That doesn't mean I want to ban them. Like, what are you going to do? Anybody who has a perspective on it that's not exactly in line with what the U.S. State Department wants has got to go. You see how this can get out of hand, and it's already gotten out of hand. And I just want people to be more intelligent in laying a precedent and how it could be misused and abused. And again, even beyond just the precedent, even in this specific case, I really don't think it's fair. I don't think it makes sense. And even if you believe the worst possible things about RT, don't you want to know what they're saying? It's like, it was the same thing with Alex Jones' story when he got purged from social media. I remember I was doing a story on Alex Jones. I wanted to go back to prove that he was lying, because he started saying, I never said that about Sandy Hook. I never said it was a hoax. I never said it was a false flag. I never said it was a conspiracy. He was lying about what he said. So I went to go grab the video of the compilation where every time he said it was a hoax and a conspiracy and whatnot. And I couldn't find the video. Why? Because YouTube pulled it down. So now the fact that they pulled it down had the unintended consequence of I can't even show it to debunk the lie he just told. So it had the opposite of the intended effect. If the intended effect of pulling him down was, look, we got to debunk him, we got to make him disappear, people shouldn't hear this, because what if he convinces people? Well, now you just had the opposite effect of that, because my whole point was going to be to show how untrustworthy he is, and now I can't show the video because you guys banned it. So there's so many unintended consequences, and I don't like this at all, man. I don't like it at all. So be careful what you wish for. Anytime we do these social media purges or deplatforming, it's not a good look. And I will say as well, I don't have the, I think I accidentally X'd out the, oh no, I might have it. Let me see. Oh, I do. Nice. Russia is doing similar things as well. So this is from BNO News. Breaking: Russia takes Echo Moskvy radio off the air, blocks access to TV Rain website, and crackdown on independent media. So I guess in Russia, anything that's presenting a pro-Ukrainian perspective, axed. The Kyiv Independent says, Russia's state communications regulator is blocking sites that write about Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Among blocked sites is the Siberian news site Tega.info, which has called Russia's so-called military operation in Ukraine a full-scale war. They're banned. You're not even allowed to call what Russia's doing in Ukraine a war in Russia. So they're censoring, they're banning. And then, of course, video came out the other day of there was a Russian strike on the Kyiv TV tower. So this is even above and beyond just censorship. This is we're going to try to totally take out your ability to report on anything in Kyiv. That, I mean, this is just an act of terror. attack the TV tower, take down the TV tower, like totally black out Kyiv and the country. So that's even a level above what we're talking about here. But this is what Russia's doing. And obviously, when you want to talk about authoritarianism, they locked up over 1,700 protesters, anti-war protesters in Russia. So don't get it twisted. I don't want anybody to take my commentary in this segment and make it seem like, only the U.S. is doing bad stuff like deplatforming and censoring and whatnot. No, that shit is going on in Russia right now, too. And I absolutely condemn that. And in fact, they've gone above and beyond what the West has done because they're launching missiles at a TV tower in Kyiv. So one thing that everybody should commit to is a free flow of information, and no censorship. But unfortunately, we're seeing all different types of censorship happen right now. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.